All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep, deep into the future of Solana. Specifically, what could 2025 hold? And let me tell you, it's a real mix of like, woo, let's
Yeah.
go, excitement, and hold on tight, uncertainty.
Yeah, you got this amazing new tech Firedancer that could totally supercharge Solana, like make it insanely fast.
Mm.
But then you got this massive, massive $2 billion token unlock coming up that could really throw a wrench in things.
Yeah, that token unlock, I'm not going to lie, that one's got me a little on edge. But let's start with the good stuff first, right? This Firedancer thing. What is the deal with that? Sounds kind of mythical, like a beast or something.
Well, considering the potential impact it could have, it practically is. Firedancer is a new validator client software. In case anyone out there isn't quite up to speed on validator clients, they're basically the engines that keep the whole Solana network humming along. Verifying transactions, keeping everything secure.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So what makes Firedancer so special?
Just imagine this. Firedancer, it's aiming to process 1 million transactions every second.
Wait, seriously? 1 million? That's like mind-blowing.
It is, and it could like totally change the game for Solana. Think about it. Near instantaneous transactions, like super cheap. We're talking micropayments for content, smooth in-game purchases, even decentralized exchanges, like stock markets operating in real time, all on Solana.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is such a huge deal. But speed isn't everything, is it?
You're right. Reliability, that's huge too. And having this Firedancer as a second validator client, well, that means there's a backup, right? So if one client runs into trouble, the other can keep things running smoothly. Kind of like having a spare tire in your car, just in case.
Haha, yeah, I gotcha. Okay, so more speed, more reliability, more possibilities. This is all sounding pretty good for Solana so far. But hold on, didn't I hear something about a potential ETF approval too? Tell me that's actually happening, please.
It really could be. An ETF or exchange-traded fund, it basically makes it way easier for those big institutional investors to get a piece of Solana. And you know what usually happens when those big investors come knocking?
The price goes up. Please tell me the price goes up.
Well, that's often what happens, yeah. And the folks over at Polymarket, they're saying the odds of a Solana ETF getting approved by, let's say, July 2025, they've jumped big time since Christmas, from like 58% to 71%. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of buzz about that.
Okay, so we got Firedancer potentially making Solana crazy fast and reliable. We got this ETF possibility that could bring a flood of new investors. 2025 is starting to sound like Solana's year, but there's that other thing, that elephant in the room. The token unlock. Hit me with the not so good news.
Right. That's the $2 billion question mark hanging over everything. Remember back in 2022 when that whole FTX thing went down?
Yeah, vaguely.
Well, that whole mess, it caused Solana's price to totally tank, like down to $8. And as part of all the bankruptcy stuff, billions of dollars worth of SOL tokens, Solana's token, they ended up being held by the FTX estate.
Okay, it's starting to come back to me now. FTX, they were a big supporter of Solana, right?
Wow. Big time. And here's the kicker. Over $2 billion worth of those SOL tokens are scheduled to be, released back into the market.
Yeah.
And it's happening in March 2025.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot of selling pressure potentially hitting all at once. Getting a little nervous again. So break this down for me and for all our listeners out there. Why is this such a big deal?
Imagine this. All of a sudden, something like 20% of all the SOL that exists hits the market. It could be a total supply shock. And what happens then? The price could drop, significantly. It'd be like everyone trying to sell their concert tickets right before the show starts, all at the same time.
Oh, I can already see the headlines. Solana prices plummet as token flood hits market. So on the one hand, we got these awesome tech advancements. We got potential ETF approval. That's pushing the price up. Then we got this massive token unlock threatening to drag it right back down. What are we supposed to make of all this? How do we even begin to predict what's going to happen?
It's definitely a puzzle, and a tricky one at that. And to make things even more interesting, we got to factor in how Solana's doing compared to its biggest rival, Ethereum.
Ah, yes, the battle of the blockchains. Knew we couldn't escape that. But before we go there, help me and everyone listening understand this. How do we actually measure how Solana's performing against Ethereum? It can't just be about who has the higher price at any given time, right?
Right. There's this thing called the Solith ratio. It basically shows how Solana's price is moving compared to Ethereum's. So if the ratio is climbing, it means Solana's outperforming Ethereum. But if it's dropping...
Solana's losing ground.
I gotcha.
So what's this ratio telling us right now? Is Solana winning or losing this battle?
Unfortunately, the ratio, it's been weakening lately, which means Solana hasn't been keeping up with Ethereum. And this is where some analysts are starting to, raise some eyebrows.
Concerns, like what? Tell me they're wrong.
Well, one analyst even said, and I'm quoting here, Solana is superb, there's no denying, but the risk to reward just isn't there in 2025 when compared to ETH.
Ouch, that's got to sting for any Solana fans out there. So is Ethereum just going to crush Solana in 2025 then? Or does Solana have a fighting chance to turn things around? I need a little hope here.
Don't worry, it's not a done deal, not at all. There are some scenarios where Solana could make a comeback. Like, for example, if the SOL-ETH ratio starts to climb back up, above those recent lows, that could mean the momentum is shifting and potentially lead to a surge in Solana's price.
Okay, so we got to keep a close eye on that ratio then. But even if it starts to improve, we still have that giant token unlock hanging over our heads. It's like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. My head's spinning just thinking about all these competing forces.
It's true, trying to predict what Solana's going to do in 2025, it's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. But hey, that's what makes it so interesting, right?
You got a point there. Wouldn't be a proper deep dive if it were easy. So let's try to put the pieces we do have together right. Big picture, zoom out. What does Solana's 2025 outlook actually look like? What are our main takeaways so far?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Solana, it's at a crossroads. There are some seriously powerful forces pushing it forward, like Firedancer, like the potential for an ETF.
Right. Those are the things that get people excited about Solana, about its potential.
Exactly. But there are also some major challenges to overcome, namely that massive token unlock we talked about.
Yeah, I can't forget about that weakening SOL-ETH ratio either. Adds another layer of uncertainty to the mix. It's a real tug of war, and we don't know which side's going to win. So for someone who's interested in Solana, what does all this mean for its value in 2025? Should they be buying, selling, or just holding on for dear life?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, literally.
Yeah, no kidding. While you're figuring out the answer to that one, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to break down these competing forces a little more and try to figure out what it all means for you, our listeners. Don't go anywhere.
It really is, though, isn't it? A million-dollar question, I mean. Trying to predict the future of any cryptocurrency, let alone one like Solana, so dynamic. It's a fool's errand, really.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. But we can at least try to wrap our heads around the different scenarios.
Absolutely. Let's break it down. Let's say Firedancer, it launches and lives up to the hype, delivers on that insane speed and reliability. That alone, that could be a huge driver for the price going up.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, who wouldn't want to use a blockchain that's fast, cheap, and reliable? And then on top of that, you throw in a potential ETF approval, which would basically open the floodgates for all those institutional investors, right?
Exactly. You're talking serious price gains, potentially.
That's the optimistic view. But we got to consider the downsides too, right? That token unlock, it's still looming out there.
It is, and there's no way around it. That event, it has the potential to put some serious downward pressure on the price, at least in the short term.
So picture this. Firedancer launches, the ETF gets approved, Solana's price is skyrocketing, everyone's celebrating. And then, bam, that massive token unlock hits.
Talk about a buzzkill. Definitely something investors need to be ready for.
Okay, all right. So Solana investors out there, buckle up. 2025 is shaping up to be a wild ride. But amidst all this uncertainty, one thing keeps coming back to me, this idea of Solana being kind of a comeback kid, Remember back when its price crashed down to $8? A lot of people wrote it off, but it came roaring back. What do you think it is about Solana that lets it keep bouncing back like that?
That's a really interesting question. I think there are a few factors at play. First off, Solana has a really strong community, passionate, dedicated. They truly believe in the project, in its vision. They're committed to its success.
It's not just hype then. There's real substance behind it.
Exactly. And second, Solana's got solid tech. It's focused on speed and scalability. It's attracting a whole ecosystem of developers, projects.
So it's got both the community support and the tech innovation.
Exactly. And I think that combination, that's what gives Solana its resilience.
Okay, I'm feeling a little better now. But before we move on, I want to circle back to something we were talking about earlier. The Solana versus Ethereum comparison, this whole battle of the blockchains narrative, it feels a bit overblown, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. It's often framed as a winner-takes-all situation, but I think it's way more nuanced than that.
So it's not necessarily a zero-sum game.
Exactly. In fact, I think there's plenty of room for both Ethereum and Solana to thrive. They both have different strengths, different weaknesses. They're attracting different users, different applications.
So it's not really about choosing one over the other. It's more about understanding which blockchain is the right tool for the job, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
Like choosing the right tool for a job,
Mhm.
Sometimes you need a hammer, sometimes you need a screwdriver. They both have their purpose.
I like that. That's a good analogy. So while the Solith ratio can give us some insights, it's not the whole story.
Right, you got to look at the bigger picture. Consider what makes each blockchain unique.
Speaking of the bigger picture, we've talked about potential upsides, downsides for Solana. But it's important to remember, the crypto market as a whole, it's still pretty young, pretty volatile.
Absolutely. There's inherent risk with any investment in crypto.
For sure.
It's important to approach it with caution, do your research, and never, ever invest more than you can afford to lose.
Couldn't agree more. It's easy to get caught up in all the excitement, the hype, and forget that this is still a speculative market. But let's shift gears a bit. Talk about some of the cool stuff happening that could shape Solana's future, beyond just trying to predict the price. What are some of the trends you're keeping an eye on?
One area I'm really interested in is the development of these Layer 2 solutions. They're basically technologies built on top of existing blockchains, like Solana, to make them even more scalable, even more efficient. Imagine Solana handling millions, even billions of transactions every second, while still keeping fees low and confirmation times fast.
Okay, now we're talking. That sounds like something that could truly revolutionize how we interact with technology, with each other.
Exactly. And Solana, with its speed and scalability, it's in a great position to be a leader in this space.
I'm also curious about your take on NFTs and the metaverse. Seems like everyone's talking about them these days. How do you see those trends playing out on Solana?
Another area where I think Solana has a ton of potential. Its speed, low transaction fees. They make it perfect for hosting NFTs and metaverse experiences. Imagine trading digital assets seamlessly, or participating in immersive virtual worlds, no lag, no crazy costs.
That's a pretty compelling vision. Sounds like Solana could be a major player in the future of digital ownership, virtual experiences. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's important to remember the crypto world, it never stands still. New challenges, new competitors, they're always popping up.
You're absolutely right. Never a dull moment in crypto. That's part of what makes it so exciting.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with all this information. We've covered so much ground today, and I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
That's the beauty of a deep dive, though, isn't it? There's always more to explore.
True. But for now, I think we need a moment to process everything. Let's take some time to synthesize these insights, try to come up with some key takeaways for our listeners. All right, I think I finally caught my breath. We've thrown a lot of information at our listeners today, from like the technical stuff with Firedancer to that Solith ratio, and of course that looming token unlock. Feels like we've been all over the Solana landscape.
We have. It's been a whirlwind for sure. But that's what makes Solana so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
And the whole crypto space, really. Always evolving, pushing the boundaries. You never know what to expect.
It's like being strapped to a rocket, hurtling into the future, and we're all just trying to figure out where we're going to land. But let's try to bring things back down to earth a bit. If you had to sum up everything we've talked about, just a few key takeaways for our listeners, what would they be?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that Solana's future in 2025, it's a big question mark. But that uncertainty, that's what makes it so interesting to analyze. We have these powerful forces pushing it forward, like you said, Firedancer, the potential ETF. Those could send the price way up.
Right. Those are the kind of things that get people excited about Solana. But then there's that massive token unlock, right? Could create a lot of downward pressure. It's enough to make anyone's head spin.
It is. And it shows how important it is to be careful with crypto investments. Be realistic. It's easy to get swept up in the hype, but you got to remember, this market, it's still volatile. Do your research, understand the risks, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. That's key.
Absolutely. Solid advice. But beyond just the price, I think it's important to remember that Solana, it's more than just an investment. It's a platform, a place where innovation happens, where new ideas, new tech are being born. What are some of the things that excite you about Solana's potential beyond just its price?
For me, it's the speed, how quickly things are developing on Solana. It feels like every day there's a new project, a new breakthrough. It's pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible with blockchain.
Yeah.
It's inspiring, really.
And it's not happening in isolation, right? Solana's part of this larger movement, changing how we think about finance, about tech, even about society. We're seeing decentralized finance emerge, the rise of NFTs, the metaverse, and Solana's right there leading the charge.
It's true, and I think that's something that people need to understand about Solana.
And about crypto in general. Yeah.
It's not just about making money. It's about building something new, something more open, more transparent, more fair.
It's about giving people more control over their data, their finances, their lives.
Exactly.
I think that message sometimes gets lost in all the noise, the speculation around crypto. But it's important to remember, at its heart, this is a movement about empowerment, about innovation, about building a better world for everyone.
That's what I find so exciting about Solana. It's not just a fast blockchain. It's giving people the tools to build amazing things. Developers can create applications, solutions that can really make a difference.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Solana's 2025 outlook, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. The future, it's uncertain, yes, but it's also full of possibilities. And Solana, with its speed, its scalability, its amazing community, it has the potential to play a major role in shaping that future. But it's up to all of us to stay informed, to keep learning, to be part of this conversation.
Absolutely. The future of Solana, the future of crypto, it's being written right now. And those who are engaged, those who are informed, they have a chance to shape it. So to all our listeners out there, keep diving, keep exploring, keep pushing those boundaries.
And on that note, we'll bring this deep dive to a close. It's been an incredible journey, and we hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep exploring the amazing world of crypto.